a little something that made me go, apparently one of the latest things that is being found among MILABs, specifically victims of military abduction, is that they are being given a scopolamine cocktail of some sorts during the pickup. It's called a liquid restraint, scopolamine being a drug that makes you forget, makes you incredibly obedient, uh, compliant, whatever. MILABs are even testing themselves after a pickup while they're still woozy and the drug's still in their system, which uh, the date rape drug is supposedly based on scopolamine and lasts in your body for about 8 hours. So um, people who have been victims of scopolamine, and there are a lot of really nasty uses for it, have reported, being really messed up a full day afterwards. But they're testing positive for this in their system after a pickup. So, it is logical to, conclude that the military is giving this as part of the liquid restraint. Um, After that alien pickup that I had and was feeling so woozy afterwards, and I found out about this, I thought about it and I was like, how do you counteract it? So I looked it up, and there's no real counteract for it. But one thing that came out, there was two things that came out. One I wouldn't recommend unless you were like an Alzheimer's patient, but the other was that estrogen helps to counteract it, they found. And I'm assuming they mean like high concentrations or something. But another interesting thing is most of the MILABs who genuinely remember, that aren't like putting Halo as part of their memories or the 40K gaming system, but are, really remembering they seem to be predominantly female. When you think about it logically, if estrogen allows you to counteract the effects of scopolamine, and the scopolamine cocktail won't be all scopolamine, because otherwise you're going to get these people that are also hallucinating because it has all these wonderful side effects. It's going to get you nowhere. Then perhaps the reason why the majority of people who are remembering past the scopolamine haze is because they're female, and females naturally produce estrogen, and maybe, and maybe that helps maybe a little. Not being a doctor or anything, or a PhD in this field, um, I couldn't tell you, so you can't like quote me as actual fact, but it was just something that made me go, huh.
Okay, I have a little informative parable for you. It's a true story. It is, the sun and the fishbowl. So I discovered the fishbowl by accident. There was this person that I was fond of who was uh, well, she said she was a female demon, but she was in a male body. Don't get me started, because that person was just an unhealthy person. I discovered the fishbowl by accident. I was like, hey, let me take you to this, where these people talk to me. And I took it up there and I started, for the first time, because I was starting to practice remote viewing and stuff, because, you have to practice. You can't just go, oh, I've got these powers, and let them lie. It's like anything, like walking. I can walk, so I'm never going to get off the couch. Uh, but I was like, this is a whole council. You mean to tell me these old men that have been pestering my whole life is a whole council with, like, pews and things? What the hell? I think it was a church. Oh, it was hilarious, because I was like, I'm gonna put you on the council. So I was like, because I just kind of knew I had that power, because I mean, I didn't know as much as I knew now, but there's things you know. So to do it, there's a way to do it. And I started going through the process. And it was just a game to me, because the fishbowl wasn't quite real yet, It's like I knew this stuff was there, but that was it. And so I started doing it, and right before I did the final step, the next thing I know, I'm out of body and I'm standing in the fishbowl. And there's this guy in my face, and he said, no!
Wow.
He's like, no! We will accept you putting this person on the lower tier, which is like no power, like like the whiner row. We will accept the lower tier, but you will not put them up there with you. And well, that kind of made me mad, telling me what to do, so I put them up there with me. That was a mistake. You should listen to your counsel.
Yes.
But they lost, but this person lost interest really quick, because no matter how much they took their claws and chipped at pillars and tried to cause problems, the crazy place would somehow heal and put itself back together. So any of the kind of havoc this person thought they could create just didn't hold. This person wasn't created enough to do the right kind of havoc, and I'm content to leave it that way. They have since been kicked off the fishbowl, incidentally. It's like that. And that's not the only incident, but that certainly is the most amusing. And the thing is, though, in the early days, it was like, okay, there's this thing. You know, I'd go to lay down and go to sleep, and people would respectfully stand and wait for me to get in the in-between place so they could talk to me to discuss details. I actually was looking through my journal, and I found whenever that woman that we met in Tampa, and I fired her.
Oh, I remember that.
And her little aide in the red shirt came and practically manifested physically, begging for me to put her back in place. And I was like, all she's got to do is pick up the phone and give me a call. She's got my number, and I'll be happy to look. And because if she were serious about her position, she would have called me. My position in it, though, I began to question when we had a few upheavals and some things changed hands, and the next thing I knew, I was getting placated, which I despise. I despise it. People who placate other people are generally manipulative, sleazy people that you should cut from your life immediately. They're not good people.
No, they are not.
And we started getting placated, and I would send Photobomb back here up there to do something, and we would end up doing a whole hour remote viewing about the future weather for next week.
Yeah.
And it was like, it's the weather. That's not important. What happened to all the stuff I was doing? And you wouldn't get no answers. And you go, well, what about this? And you get no answers. You go, what about that? You get no answers.
Or they distract you with a shiny way over here.
Yeah, or they distract you with a shiny. And then I started doing some research, and I came across Karla Turner.
The first matter is the intrinsic deception at the heart of this agenda. And that's something that's become clearer with every new report that surfaces. Whether we choose to call it screen memory, telepathic mind control, technological mind control, or virtual reality scenarios, the entities involved in the abduction phenomenon employ masterful illusory capabilities. And I don't think the importance of this fact can be stressed strongly enough. It must affect all of our thinking and our research when it comes to these alien-human contacts.
And it was interesting how Karla Turner brought out that people who are told they're important, and there's this whole fabrication built, and they're being lied to. But she had found all these examples of people who they were getting lied to, and I started paying attention. And she was right. You know, this one person, they're told the world's going to end in 2012. 2014 comes along. The world hasn't ended yet. No, that, you know, they're told just enough truths to get sucked in, and then they're told lies, and their whole world is destroyed over and over and over again. And I've looked at it, and I've come to realize that a lot of that is to keep your potential down, because we're you know, the reptilians come forward, and what do they tell us? We're just lowly humans. We're pieces of crap. They're above us, and people buy it. You know, the angels come, fear not, we are the angel of the Lord, and you should bow and worship us, and we're told to hold down. And no one has ever caught on that every time someone with potential comes up with the right potential, and they get sucked in, and they work just a little bit, and then they're knocked down with lies. And has it occurred to any of you people that this is because you know, that person could have been the person to change the world, to make us realize that we're actually equals to these things? We're equals. Okay, we're different. That doesn't make us lesser.
We're any better at that point.
No one's better than the other. You know, if you were truly an ascended master, you'd accept this, which means that every time an ascended reptilian tells you you're not better, they're not ascended. But they're not ascended. So I realized that the fishbowl was placating me. And I started looking around and I was like, we're all being lied to. This is bullshit. You know? So I decided it was time to really assess what part of my head was truth and what part of my head was lie, and I backed off. This actually made a lot of people upset, including some supposed scientific researchers. One of which broke ties, as you'll recall. Yeah. And it was hard and it was painful, and I've discussed how painful and how much it sucked in the past. But I'm really glad I did, because, you know, now I know for a fact that, hey, you know, I really was a pirate in a past life. Woo! But I know it on my terms in a factual way with confirmation, as opposed to some alien coming down and giving me the bullcrap feed, which involved spaceships. And there were no spaceships, by the way. And so then, after how many years did it take me to do this? 4, 5?
Yeah, it's been about 4 or 5 years.
I went back to the fishbowl after that month because I had my head straight and I knew what was going down a little bit more, and so it was time to go back to the fishbowl.
We ended up getting stammered at, like, oh my god, what are you doing here? And holy shit, she's back. Run, people, run. Oh my god, the fireballs, they're gonna start soon. Oh my god, not the flaming marshmallows.
And they immediately started the placations.
Yeah.
And I don't remember the placation they gave us. It was something stupid.
It was basically the run around of, that's not my department, that's their department, that's not my department, that's the other person's department. You need to go back to the original department, okay? Which one is it? Oh, look, a shiny!
What was the shiny?
Taco Bell.
For real, Choshu.
I can't remember what the shiny was.
Yeah.
I think it was a music loop.
Yeah, that's right. You were getting annoyed because they kept sticking you in a music loop, and then they kicked you out. They just threw you right out. Okay, that alone tells you there's something rotten in Denmark, guys.
Yes.
Okay, so I went in and I stomped a few heads and I did a few threats, you know, and did my thing, and got people to behave, and then that's whenever they gave us that remote view about the playing board, which incidentally could have been truth, but truth is it wasn't really much information, so it was more like a look shiny, really.
Yeah.
So that I'm still holding them in suspicion. Oh, they're real, but how are they real?
Yeah.
Because one thing that I am hypothesizing, which for those of you who don't understand the scientific process, you come up with your hypothesis first, gather your information, then come up with a theory that you have to disprove. A lot of people go straight to theory. My hypothesis is that a lot of things like that, the channeling and the stuff, are actually programming loops that are in your head. And so you're basically putting yourself in a waking dream state, and the tape runs in your head, and you get what you want to hear, and then you go and you say, oh, Jesus came to me and he said this.
For instance, the first time there on the farm that the family was abducted, when Pat's grandmother began to, what we would say now, freak out and start praying to Jesus for help as these little grays came into the room, a blue beam of light came through the ceiling, just like in Star Trek, and Jesus popped out of it and said, in effect, they're with me, it's okay. And as I'm very fond of saying, and I don't know why I like this so much, except it always gets me, I asked Pat what Jesus looked like, and she said, oh, he was beautiful. He was so awe-inspiring. He was blonde-haired and blue-eyed, and just beautiful. And I said, hey, Pat, you know, look back at the New Testament. I don't think that's what Jesus probably looked like, historically speaking. And it went right over Pat's head, and she said, with, you know, tears of joy in her eyes, well, this one did.
So the thing is, I figured out I was being lied to. The minute basically the very same day I figured out I was being lied to, the game changed. No one came to me asking for decisions anymore. And it isn't like, you know, the abduction stopped or anything or things. They just knew that the game wasn't working anymore. So the program stopped. That's something that should be noted. I mean, there's been plenty of times I've been around people who channeled. And you could tell that they had absolutely no idea what the hell was going on. They would spout out some stuff that absolutely made no sense, but they took it to be truth because don't you know it was channeled? Don't you know that everything you channel is the truth? So the Archangel Michael comes to me. How do you know it's the Archangel Michael? He said so. Okay, well I'm going to tell you right now. I'm Walt Disney.
I'm the Tooth Fairy.
And she's the Tooth Fairy. Do you believe? What? Well, we told you.
It's on the internet. It's true.
It's on the internet. So the parable behind this is, you know, if you're in a situation where you're doing a lot of astral work and they've told you that you're important, you probably need to reassess. First thing you need to do is find out what's truth and what's lies. You don't do that by going to other people and telling them that they're lying or are ambiguous or are wrong. Because one, even if you're right, you could very well be they're also right because of the power of perspective. I mean, you know, I look at the sky and you're going to tell me it's blue. Well, guess what? I see it as Sion. Surprise. So I've only seen a true blue sky once in my life. Once. I don't remember what kind of day it was. I don't remember. I was young. I see the sky as Sion. So, you know, it's a matter of perspective. So that's the first thing you don't do. The second thing you're going to have to do is you have to question this so-called source of yours. You know, is it the same source that tells you that your clone body is important for the rapture, while at the same time telling the person in the room next to you that these clone bodies aren't important and just flushing them away? You know, are these the same sources that are telling you that you're just a lowly human and therefore not worth it? You know, you really need to question. Have you lost everything because of this source? Not because you believe in it and no one else believes it, but because, well, things just don't seem to align right. You really need to question. You know, you just need to question, and this is the parable. You could be getting lied to. Don't go to other people and decide they're lying just because they don't match up with you. It doesn't get you anywhere.
I believe now that the reported and confirmed details in all of these reports are strong evidence against accepting consciously recalled alien encounter reports at face value because of the illusion capabilities, because of the screens, and because of the virtual reality technology that we have witnessed being manifest by these entities. I believe that if we build our theories on such information, the consciously reported information only, we're building on sand, on illusions that the aliens create for us, and I think to confuse and mislead us. Now, this is not to say, however, that all alien encounters are virtual reality events, because there is also plenty of very strong evidence for the physical nature of many of these encounters. So to be perfectly objective, the definition of abduction would have to include any event or scenario that is generated externally for the targeted person, whether it be a physical encounter, a virtual reality scenario, or a telepathic contact.